Hey everybody, I'm here to do a book review today of Enclave by Ann Aguirre. I'm trying to pronounce her last name right. I hope I said it okay. This book is about a post-apocalyptic dystopian future centered around, a tough as nails female protagonist named Deuce. And in this future, most of society has moved underground. Basically, I think it's in the subway system is what the hints in the book seem to make it look like. And Deuce is from this. Her community is called an enclave, which is like communities living underground, pretty much, and that are all self-sustaining. And then people really don't live very long. Like they don't even make it to see the age of 40. And a lot of kids die young also, so they only earn the right to be named when they turn 15. And the beginning of the book starts at Deuce's naming day ceremony. She was originally just called Girl 15. And they're named because the way they're named is they are cut a certain number of times on their arms depending on what career they will take, and whatever their blood lands on is what name they will have, and her blood lands on the number 2 playing card, or the deuce. There are 3 jobs in her community. There's breeders, which is I guess what most of the people are, whose job is to make and raise kids. Builders, who build things, and then the most important top-ranking ones are the hunters, which obviously hunt for food and protect the community. And Deuce, all of her life, has wanted to be a huntress, and she's really excited when she actually gets to be one and is desperate to prove herself. She's partnered with this guy named Fade, who is just a little bit older than her. He's kind of like an outcast in the community. He's really an outsider because he came from the outside, somewhere outside of their little enclave. College is what the place is called. And he still doesn't really fit in, and his last partner died. And Deuce isn't really happy to be paired with him, but after a while they start to work better together, and yeah, it's kind of predictable where their storyline will go, so I don't even need to go any more into that. Basically, the conflict of this story is, in this post-apocalyptic world, there are these creatures that are kind of slightly humanoid monsters called freaks, or at least that's what the college enclave calls them. They're called a few other things by different communities in the books. They're just these brainless monsters who just attack and are after meat. And the problem is, in this book, there are signs that these freaks are becoming smarter, and they're strategizing and planning, and they're going to be more of a threat. But the community does not take this warning from Deuce and Fade seriously, and eventually they end up exiled for something and then have to live topside, or up on land. And I'll just stop the synopsis there. I don't know why I chose this book to read right now, because I have a lot of other ones that I've had on my shelf for longer on my to-be-read pile, and this is a more recent acquisition, and it's not even like my number 1 book that I'd been wanting to get for a while. I just thought it sounded interesting, and something about the cover design just made me want to read it, even though I can't even say it's anything like my favorite covers. Also because it's very short. It's like, I think only 200 something. Yeah, it's less than 300 pages, so it's quite short, maybe because I knew I wouldn't have time. And then another thing that the cover really bothers me is the back. This is longer than the front cover, so it sticks out, and apparently you're supposed to be able to read it like this, but you can't because it's still not long enough for that. And just because it's not symmetrical, I don't know if I'm supposed to, like, it's folded wrong, or I'm supposed to push it, and that doesn't really do anything. No, it's definitely supposed to be like that. I don't know, this bothered me since I got it, so maybe that's part of the reason why I wanted to read it. But yeah, what did I actually think about the book? Well, if it hadn't been for one thing, I would have given it a 4 out of 5 star rating. It's definitely very action-packed, because obviously Deuce is a huntress, and a lot, especially in the beginning, describes them fighting the freaks and hunting and getting meat and stuff in the beginning. So if you like that kind of thing, you really like it. I found it enjoyable, but I wanted a little bit more, I think. I like the second half better after their topside than the first half, in terms of finding out more about the world in that respect, because you get to know so little, and I guess it's because Deuce knows so little, and her knowledge is very limited to what she's been taught in her enclave, and they really didn't tell her much, and a lot of the stuff that she has learned is not true. So with Fade knows a little bit more coming from somewhere else. She is able to expand her knowledge, and then later on going topside, seeing firsthand a lot of stuff is not what she thought it was, because they used to teach people that just going up above the ground would mean instant death, like the rain would kill you and things like that. I don't know, that was part of it. I wanted to know more, and then I also wanted a little bit to know more about the side characters. Like Deuce has these two best friends, Stone and Thimble, and they're really not in it much. A lot of the characters in Enclave, like the elders, the leaders, and other people, you really don't get to know that much about them. It's very limited. I guess I would have liked to have had like maybe another 100 pages on the book. But what we did get, I found quite enjoyable for the most part, until near the end we get a love triangle. One of my pet peeves in young adult fiction, because they are just everywhere, and they're really, I just felt this was so gratuitous. It was like, I have to include a love triangle because this is the popular trend in YA nowadays, and no one will like this book if it doesn't have a love triangle. Obviously, I think it's quite obvious, and any reader should, that Deuce and Fade start to have a growing attraction and everything, and in the beginning they don't really get along, blah blah blah, and I thought that was working rather well. The romance, because it was not overpowering to the book. It was really taking a back seat to the main storyline of them, trying to live and survive in the world and everything. But then there's another character who is really like a bad guy, and I'm not going to spoil too much. He's a bad guy, or kind of started like it when he's introduced, and then all of a sudden he is shown that he likes Deuce, and she doesn't know what to do. She's conflicted, blah blah blah, because she had, until he made his intentions known to her outright, blatantly said it, she had no clue whatsoever, totally oblivious, and also had no clue why. Like, Fade was obviously acting jealous. She had no idea or inkling whatsoever of any of that. I hated this love triangle. Like, first of all, this guy is a jerk. I was going to call him evil, but maybe not necessarily, because he was just trying to survive any way he could too. In this world, it's pretty dangerous. It's just anarchy and gangs, every man for himself, essentially. I don't know. That brought the book down a whole other star for me. And I hope, it is a trilogy. I think the second book is called Outpost. I really hope that the love triangle is done away with as soon as possible, because then that'll make the book go up a little bit. In my mind, my opinion will be raised maybe back to a 4 or even a 5 out of 5 rating, depending on how good the second book is in other respects. But yeah, I hate love triangles, as I did in my buzzwords and deal breaker videos, so that brought this book down a little bit for me. But if you like dystopians and post-apocalyptic fiction, which are all over the place nowadays, and I'm a huge fan of that genre, and if you like, the tough as nails, kick-butt heroine, Deuce is definitely like that. So I think you will enjoy this book. It definitely has a lot of action in it. Yeah, it was just a 3 out of 5 for me, but it could have been better. Maybe I'd like it more. Anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video.